Dear Mr. President, Your Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, my name is Cyrus, the host of Tuntum Network on YouTube and on TikTok. I write you this letter to first of all congratulate you on your win and to wish you the best in the coming years. I have to be honest, Mr. President, I didn't vote for you. No, I didn't. I voted for Nana Kwame Bediako, but I'm super glad you've emerged over the vice president. That's what I take from you as my Christmas gift. Now, I watched the recent interview you granted Voice of Africa, VOA, and I love what you said when you said, and I quote, all the opinion polls showed that the economy and employment were the most important issues, end of quote, for the elections. And so, Mr. President, if you kindly listen, I want to present to you the one solution my research shows that Ghana needs to activate to solve these two challenges which you clearly outlined. And I've read through the NDC's manifesto, and I've been privileged to be granted deeper interpretation of the plans for agriculture for economic transformation agenda, the AETA, by one of your top people. You see, Mr. President, the missing element that will make the entire policy work is the very element that's missing in the manifesto. State ownership, Mr. President. It's good to provide the environment for private farmers to engage in farming and expand. It is totally good. It is very good to create the farmer service centers described in the policy. And it's also good to promote the Buy Ghana agenda. But Mr. President, if the state doesn't go beyond setting up the stage to getting involved in the agribusiness itself, I'm afraid your agri policy will most likely fail. Ghana government must at this point go into commercial agriculture owned by the state. Ghana must go back to the state enterprise again. Ghana government must own the biggest cocoa farm in all of Africa if you want to control agriculture in Africa. The government of Ghana must run tomato, onion, and pepper farms again. Ghana government must own the biggest poultry farm in Africa. Mr. President, you can make Ghana self-sufficient in food by using government. So I'm only encouraging you to look into tweaking the policy to incorporate state enterprises. When I lived in China, I learned how the Chinese government controlled food prices, something that we seriously need in Ghana. This is how they did it. The Chinese government was the number one competitor in the country in the market space. Almost everything the private businesses had in the country, the Chinese government also had it. So when private manufacturers and farmers brought their produce to the marketplace, Mr. President, the Chinese government also brought his produce to the marketplace, and consumers always compared the prices of the private producers and chose the price of the state-owned produce. And so all producers were organically forced to reduce their prices to match the government prices, and that was competitive and good for them. I don't expect you to do all that, but start with food production. If you get food prices under control, Ghanaians will take it easy on you throughout your presidency. Food is what determines Ghana's economy at the core. It's the one thing that everybody can relate to, no matter the level. So I encourage you to look into it and possibly consider a state construction company when you can. Ghana doesn't need to give contracts to outsider contractors. That's how prices are inflated and we never get value for money. We have engineers in this country, some who work for the state already, some who are private. Let them get busy so that even if contracts are given out, it will be executed by state engineers who will ensure standards. State enterprise will provide jobs with reasonable salaries and benefits and provide surpluses for export. Please consider what I've said, and if anyone argues that it won't be managed properly, it will be because they are inherently corrupt, Mr. President. We can bring in foreign managers in addition to our local content for supervisory purposes, just as multinational mining companies and other companies do in this country. Finally, Mr. President, if you want our cedis to stabilize in the long term, Ghana will have to go into state-owned mining company. Ghana must own a mining company that will supply the state gold reserves. That's what must back our cedis for when we need dollars or make international payments. I pray for you, Mr. President. You're a very nice man, and we wish you all the best, that you do well and your team as well. You deserve to be the number one. Hope this letter finds you well. Yours faithfully, Cyrus Annan of Tuntum Network.